This is so dumb, dude. This is so dumb, dude. Uh... my PC, for whatever reason, sometimes just decides to not want to connect to the Wi-Fi anymore. So it creates like this bit of a dilemma where like the Wi-Fi was working, it was connected. I don't know what issue went on, and it just I had to find my Ethernet cable, disconnect it from the PS5, and plug it into the PC. It was just that. I'm kind of over actually ranting. I'm kind of over it. My take was so peak it crashed the stream. The Lucia then, honestly, I was gonna say no stream. You can stick around if you'd want. You can genuinely stick around if you want. I'm not talking about Bleach anymore. The whole thing I was just gonna get at is that like, so you have the Chow item, which actually creates a path of rings, and it gives you not only more rings per use than like let's say the coin item for Mario Kart, but what it also does is that it offers a bit of a anti-grass mechanic where like you know how when you use a boost or a boost wisp or a mushroom in Mario Kart to go over like rough terrain, like let's say the grassy roads or like basically non-track terrain that slows you down, the Omo Chow item actually allows you to cover that side of the track without actually being affected by it. I think it's a really good use of an item that only grants you rings or coins. My issue with the coin in Mario Kart is that it offers no kind of defensive play because you have to have the coin if you're in first place. And some people say, well, if you already have the coin in your item slot, then you don't need it for your second item because it'll guarantee that that item isn't a coin. And I hate that. Why do I hate that? Because the coin offers no defensive capabilities. The Crash Racing game on PS2 was a good game? Yeah, it was a good game. The title of the One Piece video. I don't think I'm going to check out the titles deep dive, only because I'm not really invested in that right now. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's also, like, the issue of, like, bagging that usually comes with these games. I've heard more so that, like, for those of you that may not know, bagging is essentially the concept of, like, purposely staying back in, like, the worst positions early in the early laps, just so you can get stronger items so that you can essentially use the overpowered items to get to the end. How Miskiv felt when he posted this. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'm kind of over it. Watching someone get a coin is funny, though. Yeah, but it's not fun for the person getting the coin, and that's always been my issue. I feel like a game with, like, Mario Kart, where it often fails, like, especially from a competitive standpoint, is that Mario Kart does everything it can to make sure that you, as the player in first place, don't get anything good. It's actually been one of the biggest issues that I've had with racing games for a while now. Specifically Mario Kart, where because Mario Kart wants itself to be a game that anyone can play and anyone has a chance to win in, they essentially give you, I don't vote for this shit. I don't care. I don't vote for it because I think that the Game Awards are a complete sham. It doesn't matter what the people's choice is when at the end of the day, a random group of people is just going to be essentially just pick, hey man, this is what it is. Yeah, it's kind of rigged to be more competitive. Mario Kart is not rigged to be more competitive at all, and that's I think what's my issue is that they want it to be so casually friendly and so open to the idea of people, or at least it follows this gaming philosophy of people wanting other players to have a chance so that the best player in the room doesn't always win, but ends up resulting in this scenario where the strongest player will often be the one punished the most. You know what I mean? Like, and this is just a thing, and this is just an issue with like game philosophy that I just have as a whole with like Nintendo. It's something that like you just kind of have to accept if you're going to play Nintendo. You're just going to have to accept that like Nintendo does not want the better players to always win. And I don't understand this concept because it's like, I understand the concept, correction. I do understand the concept and I do understand where it comes from, but at the same time, it subdivides it into two groups where you have the people, the hardcore fans. Yeah. Why the... Okay. This is annoying me. Let me move this down real quick. We'll put it at like 16 real quick, just so I have like more space. Why the fuck is this covering it, dude? This is so annoying. The hardcore fan base. Well. And then you'll have filthy casuals. Nintendo usually adheres itself to a philosophy of hardcore fan base, which will be the people that play through a game. They're essentially the hardcore fan base is usually also the people that like will consistently play through the game regardless of what happens with it, versus the filthy casuals that usually pick up and play the game for like a little bit, but because like everyone has to play Mario Kart and then just stop playing it for a bit. I think that my issue, unless it has some kind of random mode, the item ratios are placement based. What's the point of a blue shell when you're in first place? But it's not the point of having a blue shell when you're in first place. The point is that if you, as the player who are in first place, you shouldn't be punished. Hardcore players shouldn't be punished for wanting to front run. The issue with a system like the one that Nintendo has, where essentially the more softcore player base, the more casual like player base, essentially has larger chance because of the item based placement system, is that all it really means is that essentially all the good items exist in the lower places. And when you have a game, that doesn't, the core mechanics don't allow you to easily deal with said items, it creates this weird dichotomy. Where the filthy casuals, essentially, all they really have to do is just spam items in order to win. When the rage was so great, it crushed the stream. It wasn't really rage. It was just more so my internet connection. But actually, you know what? Let me delete this for a second, right? Let me delete this for a second because this isn't even remotely true, right? Nintendo's philosophy, and I think it's just my biggest issue with it as a whole. Actually, what the fuck does this do? What the fuck is this doing? The fuck? Oh. Competitive kart players. Let me actually change it. Competitive kart. God damn it. All right, let me try that again. Competitive kart players. Competitive kart players. Nintendo's philosophy. Nintendo's gameplay philosophy. Nintendo's gameplay philosophy. All the good items exist in the lower place. The core mechanics don't easily allow you to deal with said items. And all I'm asking is, like, especially as someone who, like, knows that he's good at Mario Kart, I would like it if I wasn't punished for wanting to front run. I wasn't punished for wanting to be first. Like, the issue with the coin item essentially takes a slot of an item that could have been used by the player in first. That could have been used by the player in first to defend their position. I'm talking about a banana position. Ergo, banana or green shell. Items that, especially when you only have like one of each, essentially allow you to maintain your position in first. Now, these items aren't all encompassing. Even the blowhorn item that essentially stops you from getting cooked by a blue shell still loses to the fucking lightning bolt. I see where you're coming from, but I like the luck element of the game. I mean, if I'm better than someone, if I lose because of luck, I wouldn't be mad. No, I would be mad. I would be mad because I didn't lose due to skill. I lost because lose, not because of skill. Not because of skill or luck, but because they got item spam. One of the things that happened in CTR that I never saw before happen was that in CTR, items were powerful. As a matter of fact, it's arguable that some items in CTR were more powerful than items that you could get in Mario Kart. For example, I'll actually bring some up, right? CTR items. CDR items. Crash Team Racing items. What the fuck? I hate it when I press a button that's not the one I'm going for. Crash Team Racing items. Hear me out on this, right? You have a bevy of items within CTR that are arguably much more busted than the ones in Mario Kart, right? Now, these don't necessarily, this is necessarily not a thing. The rocket, for example, right? The rocket has high seeking potential and immediately goes I would actually argue that the rocket is worse than the red shell because the rocket immediately homes in on the target, so it will actually bash into a wall if you're not directly like behind the target, or if they clear let's say like a corner, right? The TNT sticks to you, but it's an instant damage if you have 10 Wumpa Fruit. Something that a game like CTR did that made items much more mechanically interesting than something like Mario Kart is that if you hit 100 Wumpa Fruit, sorry, not 100, if you hit 10 Wumpa Fruit in the same way that you can hit 10 coins, your items are improved. The clock, the stopwatch, for example, affects everyone like the lightning bolt and actually shuffles around everyone's items instead of taking them away like the lightning bolt, only servicing the person in last, but it actually affects everyone equally, so it doesn't just affect the people in the back a little less than it does the people in the front. Everybody is fucked by it, thus only helping out the person in the back. Right, the person that activated the item. The invincibility mask is essentially just a star. The nitro boost gauge is essentially just a mushroom, but the difference here is that if you dash into somebody, you actually crush them. The beaker, for example, is just a banana, but if you get hit by it, it actually re-rolls your items and affects you for much longer. And you even have a bubble shield. Can you imagine playing Mario Kart where you essentially just have an invincibility item that goes away only when you get hit? Of course not. Why would that exist in Mario Kart? That item is too powerful. But the thing about these items is that they got buffed. CTR buffed these items. You see this weird looking ball here? This is the CTR equivalent of a blue shell. And the difference between this and a dog shit ass blue shell is that this item was only ever beaten by either having an indestructible and invincible shield or by having a Aku mask. Nothing else beat this thing, right? So you'd essentially have to have the equivalent of a star in first place in order to beat this item. This item right here was beaten by the simple fact that you were too fucking fast. In CTR, the game essentially allows you to, if you know your lines well enough and you know how to properly use the gameplay mechanics, you can essentially outrace almost any item in the game. I'm not kidding. There was a point in the game, especially early on within like its first year or two, where this item, depending on the track, couldn't actually catch up to the user because you could be so fucking fast, and if you maintained your fire, those large blue flames behind you, if you maintained them well enough, this item was completely useless against player one. You could actually lap this thing, funny enough. They buffed it to such an extent where the thing basically trails behind you so fucking quickly, there's no amount of speed in the game that would allow you to stop it, right? The game gave you, for a long time, the tools and mechanics necessary to be able to dodge some of these items, or the control necessary to be able to swerve your way out of it. It's not the same way with Mario Kart or Sonic Racing Cross World. The thing is that in Sonic Racing Cross World, it does offer you, even in first place, the chance to defend yourself by giving you items like a Sonic Racing Cross World items. By giving you specific items that are locked away behind specific item boxes, like the triple boosts, like the triple fists, the triple homing in fists, even like the warp ring. These are items that you can only get in specific item boxes, and even then they only leave double item boxes for like the second round. With a game like this, there are items that specifically target first and second place, first place only, so on and so forth. But the difference here here is that these items still feel much more manageable than Mario Kart, where there's even a specific mechanic that you can use to kind of dodge the items, though granted it's very high skill and it's kind of timely that you have to use it. My point here is that with Mario Kart doesn't really want you to front run. It wants you to essentially race the best you can, and it all matters towards the end. I've seen some stuff about like bagging and Sonic Racing Crossworlds that honestly I can understand where people are coming from, especially like in the later tiers. But the thing about a technique like bagging is that you can still technically beat it by simply racing fucking better. I know that some people call it an issue, but I still think that you are capable of maintaining your position in first as long as you have decent item management and as long as you don't just waste them, because the item boxes are so spread far apart. But with Mario Kart, it's more a case of an issue of like, if I am behind an enemy, we both ran out of our items, I can pick up an item, they can pick up an item box as well, and I pick up only a coin, and they pick up a red shell, I have no way of defending myself, so at that point, I'm at the mercy of whomever wants to smash me with items after second place goes to first. And I think that's just my biggest issue with the series as a whole. My friend said, second place needs the chance. Second and third and fourth place, everybody needs a chance to be able to catch up to first. But if first place is in a position where they're constantly able to defend themselves, and what chance does anybody else have? And my thing is the items. The items are the reason why first place can't stay in first. Having a banana and a green shell at all times is not going to protect you from a blue shell, and it's definitely not going to protect you from a lightning bolt, unless you were able to like sneak in with some pretty busted items at the start, you know what I mean? Towards like the middle of the pack. I don't know why people defend the coin as if it's a good item when it does offer next to nothing for you, other than a way to like slightly get back 2/3 of the coins that you lost when you got hit in the first place. So it's not even an actual cash out. I don't know, man. I know I'm complaining about just some dumb shit, but it's like, I don't know. It's just a mini little rant that I kind of want to go over. Anyway, I don't really have much else to talk about. I'm probably going to head out from here. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Probably should have just ended it off when we were talking about it before. But yeah. Usually require more game knowledge? I don't believe that. I don't really think you need to have a lot of game knowledge to play a lot of Nintendo games. Mushrooms allowed you to avoid blue shells. Anyway, yeah. Until Nintendo starts to make actual good games with effort in them. Yeah, until then. Have a good day, guys. I will likely... Oh, did you watch the last video? I did watch the last video with Nixos. I think he made some very interesting points, specifically with the idea of data books, because like data books for the longest time have essentially been, I wouldn't want to say like boggled down by this idea, but more so I feel like people put too much investment into what like the data books really are, because they're not like, they're just supplementary sources. They're not the main source material. And I get that they do help expand on certain issues or key facts, but at the end of the day, it's like, not everyone is going to even know what the fuck a data book is, and they're not going to go out of their way to like find all this information. They're just going to read the source material and base all of their conclusions from upon it, right? And I think that's a perfectly reasonable way of looking at this stuff. We as power scalers often look at data books as these extra pieces of information because they offer to help and expand our knowledge on what a series could be. But I feel like more often than not, people do take certain statements like turn the world to ash or godlike speed as, you know, oh, this has to be the only way that we like look at this series. You know what it means? I don't know, man. I feel like a data book should be used as a tool to help reinforce certain claims or to help rectify certain bits of information, but it's not necessarily like the thing that you're supposed to look at and say, if you're not going by the data book, you're objectively wrong, because data books can oftentimes actually counter the narrative of the story, so it just makes things a bit more, I don't know, it makes things a bit more, not disingenuous, I don't want to use the word, it makes things a bit more confusing in my opinion. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Data books should never be used if they contradict the story. I agree. YouTube is going through it right now. The stream ended mid Mario Kart rant. What the hell? Yeah. Yeah, you didn't crash the stream. Noise streaming. But anyway, guys, have a wonderful rest of your night. Please drink some water. Please brush your teeth. Please clean behind your ears. And just take care of yourselves. Peace out. I'll be streaming tomorrow, by the way. Don't worry.